Welcome back to the Republic of Rugby. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We've got some exciting rugby to talk about in the URC. What a finale of the regular season we have in store. But before that, Jordan, I sense a little bit of nerves coming ahead of July. I mean, you should be full of confidence, shouldn't you? Full of swagger, back-to-back world champions.
Yeah, it's time to make some excuses before we play England on the 4th of July. We're always trying to just bring the expectations down. We are the underdogs. That's how we won the 2019 World Cup. We're never going to be the favourites in our eyes. And I'm sure you guys out in England are probably seeing it a little bit differently to us at the moment.
Mate, everyone's seeing it a little bit differently. We've just had a historic bad Six Nations. Lost 4 out of 5 matches. The only time that's ever happened in the Six Nations era. You're playing against an England team at a low ebb. There is no pressure on England. And there's very little expectation from the fans.
We're actually just showing some respect. We respect England. We know what they can deliver. We respect Scotland and Wales. And, it's actually nice of us to sort of bring ourselves to that level as the underdogs coming in against England.
Right, what's going on then? Because I saw Ruan Fenter go off on the back of a cart. He's been playing so well this season for the Lions, but that's just one of many, right?
Yeah, so there's probably 17 to 18 injuries in the Springbok alignment camp that got announced a couple of weeks ago. There's 17 to 18 injuries within that 17.
So that means there's only like 5% of the squad then, because he named about 150 players.
Yes, but there are some big hitters. Now, let me get this out the way, and then we can actually have a constructive conversation around this. So there's 2 key areas where the Springboks have some major injuries. That's in the lock department and the scrum off department. Yep. Now, for the locks, Eben's out. He should be back by July. Archie Snyman's out.
Perfectly timed. Almost like he planned it.
He's not a club rugby player anymore. He's just an international player at this point. Archie Snyman out till early 2027. Samuel Murat should be back by May, July. Loet Jager out till late 2026. Jean Klein out. Unclear when he's going to be back. So lock stocks are down at the minute. We then dive into the scrum offs. Kobus Reinach, Grant Williams, and Jaden Hendricks are all currently injured, which means that our 2 primary scrum offs, Kobus Reinach and Grant Williams, probably are out, which means that Rassie Rasmus is going to have to lean on Faf de Klerk, Morne van den Berg, Hashim Peed, maybe even bringing Ambrose Papier into the mix. And then we've got a whole bunch of other injuries. I'll just run through them. Jordan Hendricks, Apelele Fassi, Peter Steph de Toy, Frans Malherbe, Sebastian de Klerk, Ethan Hooker, Marcus Muller, Ruan Fenter now. Chesil Jooste went off with a niggle over the weekend, and Sipusitu Mbelele, who should have made his debut for the Springboks last year, November, is probably, we're not sure how long he's out for. So that's your 17 to 18 injuries currently.
Okay, and like a lot of those, if we think specifically about the England game, to be fair, there's a big chunk of those names you can just go, well, they were never going to play against England. They've probably missed out on a chance to play against the Barbarians.
Yeah.
Or maybe against Wales in a couple of cases, being no disrespect for Wales. And I know of all countries, I know South Africa respect Wales because they always give them a tough game. But for that England game, I will say, and I don't know about you, but I think obviously the Peter Steph de Toy being fit and available is one, because you as good as the players are, you cannot replace that guy. He is irreplaceable. I'd be more concerned about scrum half than lock. You're going to have your first choice locks starting the match more than likely, Etzebeth and Norkia, and then it's a question about who's the guys on the bench. Which, you're missing some real big players there, but that's not as big of a concern for me, if I were in your shoes, as it would be the scrum half.
Yeah, and I mean, even on the scrum half notes, we're looking at Morne van den Berg, who's a high-end scrum half. We're looking at Faf de Klerk, who has done it for the Springboks. He can just slot in for a couple of games. You've got Hashim Peed, who was Junior Springbok Player of the Year last year. And then you throw Ambrose Papier into that mix, who's arguably been the most in-form rugby player in the URC this season. We are licking our wounds, but like you said, I don't think there's too much to be worried about.
What's interesting, though, is the fact that what Rassie Rasmus has done with the 9-10 combinations up till now is that we've Morne van den Berg's pretty much played with Andre Pollard, and Grant Williams has played with Marnie Libok and Kobus Reinach with Sasha, and he's not going to have the luxury to keep those combinations together. So what do you think the 9-10 combination might be?
Look, I wouldn't be surprised if Faf does come in and do a stint for 1 or 2 games, and he'll probably pair him up with a Pollard. Although I suppose you could throw in a Sasha because Faf is so experienced. If you throw, I mean, you've got your Morne van den Berg, Andre Pollard combination there already. Throw in Hashim Peed in, you'll probably want a more experienced fly-off in that 10 jersey, so that's probably Andre Pollard. If you're bringing in Embros Papi, let's not forget he's played 7 test matches for the Springboks back in 2018. So it's not like it's really throwing a cat amongst the pigeons here. There are still one combination that's intact, and Grant Williams, as well as Kobus Reinach, are targeting to be back by July anyways. So we could have, as South Africans, just made up this problem in our own mind because we like to be the underdogs going into this. We like to, let's not call it excuses, but, kind of set the table for what's to come. But I actually don't think there's going to be too many problems. A 17-18 player injury list looks bad on the surface. But once you start digging into it a little bit, you actually realize, Russie's actually done a pretty good job of building this depth out over the last 5 years.
Yeah, I think the tactic. What are you expecting tactically from England? Because I can't quite work out how we're going to go.
Well, how do you beat the Springboks? Let me ask you that question as an English fan. How do you any team? How do you beat the Springboks? How did Argentina do it last year? How did Australia come back from 20-odd points down? How did Ireland do it?
There's an argument. I don't want to take anything away from Australia, but I think there's an argument that South Africa beat themselves in that game because they just did not kick. They tried to go coast to coast, play from everywhere, and it backfired badly. And they were 22-0 up as well. Equal, and also when England pushed the Boks really, really close in Paris in the semi-final, that was poor conditions, and England just went aerial assault. What's interesting now is that was how England won 11 out of 12 games in 2025, was through the aerial assault and then playing quickly off the back of it. But everyone seems to have got better at that. France got better at it. Ireland have got better at it. Everyone has. And England weren't able to use that superpower in the Six Nations. So that's where I don't think that's going to work anymore. So I actually think it's going to be more like Argentina and Australia, where you just are deadly on the break. And yeah, the kicking is going to be an important part of that, but trying to not let the Boks get into a set-piece game and run them off their feet, I think is going to be the way you beat them. Do England have the ability to do that? I think they can. They could. I don't expect them to.
It probably needs to be a combination of the Springboks aren't on their game and England are on their game.
Yeah.
I don't think if the Boks pitch up and give 100% and they fire on all cylinders, that England will have a chance.
No, I totally agree. And what I'm fascinated to see is just what's been the Achilles heel for England, what has lost them a World Cup final and a World Cup semi-final, is the scrum. A lot of work's been done there, and England have got better. They were by far the best scrum in the Six Nations.
Yeah.
They've done really, really well over the last couple of years. Ellis Genn just put on about 10 kilos. But this is going to be this is going to be the test. And the worry I have is that we do well for 50 minutes, and then when Joe Hayes, England's tight head, goes off, and Oxenchake against our backup tight head, and I don't know who that's going to be, probably Asher Opoku for Jaw, because anyway, that's when I worry. And I will just say as well, England have got a bunch of injuries too. Two are sort of first and third choice tight head prop are both out. Starting hooker is out. So in the front row alone, there's 3 guys that would be in the match day 23 that aren't available.
And that's probably the most problematic area to not have your best players against the Springboks.
Yeah, I think England's most problematic area and one of South Africa's strongest areas is centre. I think we're in big trouble through the midfield. Ollie Lawrence has not been playing well since he's got back from a bad injury. Do we put Tommy Freeman there? He's a great player, but do you lose something by not having him on the wing, and he's not really that experienced at 13? Fraser Dingwall, Seb Atkinson, Max Ajomo. These are all kind of not finished articles, far from it. And do you know what? Regardless of what I think about it, I think what's going to end up happening is that England end up with a South African at 12 at the Rugby World Cup in 2027. Bernard Jansen van Rensburg is going to be playing there.
Him and Dave Ribbons.
Well, no, I think it's like a trading thing that we're doing. Yeah, you can have Ribbons. We'll have Van Rensburg.
What is a positive for England is Ellis Park is where the Springboks lost to Australia last year. So there are those heebie-jeebies. It is at altitude. We love speaking about altitude when it comes to the Lions and Bulls, and Glasgow proved that altitude doesn't matter when they came over and beat the Bulls in the URC
It's
final.
so interesting you say that, and this might move us on to the URC, but you're right. The URC and the Champions Cup has actually reduced the aura of altitude because teams are they play it much more often, and we've seen teams go and win. Northampton Saints winning at the Bulls, Glasgow winning in the URC final, like you say. And I just think the aura of altitude has, and with club players going there more often, that's another interesting dynamic, just generally over the last few years.
Yeah, let's not forget that the Sharks also have about 51 Springboks in their team, and they train at sea level. So they also have to come up to altitude to play at Ellis Park. Let's talk about the URC a little bit. What were your takes on this penultimate round of the URC, and sort of what are you expecting for the final round here?
Well, it's like knockout rugby for a lot of teams started last weekend, and it's definitely the case this weekend. This is like if after this we got the quarterfinals, this is almost like a round of 16, isn't it? Because it is winning you're in for a bunch of those teams, and that race between 5th place and 9th is going to be absolutely amazing. And the fact that some of them play each other, Munster Lions as a final match, is amazing. And actually, before we get onto that, one thing I want to ask you. So in Premier League football, in Premiership rugby, top 14, other leagues, other sports, the final round of regular season fixtures all happen at the same time on the same day, so no one has an advantage. URC does it differently. What do you think?
I like it. It's almost like, that's why Six Nations is so special as well. It's because you can watch every game. You can follow the storyline. And here, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Munster Lions is the final game of round of 18.
Saturday night.
And that's kind of the one that's going to decide who ends in that 5th spot, which is incredible because for the Lions to end 5th, Bulls aren't going to lose. Leinster, Stormers, Glasgow are kind of already in the top 3, top 4. So they're kind of fighting for that 5th place, which is big. But also we don't really want the Lions to be playing the Bulls in the quarterfinals.
How am I saying that? Uitske Derby, is that right?
Yeah, Uitske Derby. Yeah, but pretty much bang on.
That'll be amazing. What a knockout match that would be.
No, but selfishly we want, the South African teams all to make it into the semi-finals and guarantee a South African in the final.
Well, you've got a guarantee. You would have a guaranteed semi-finalist because there's a chance that they all got knocked out in the quarterfinal. There's no one, so glass half empty, glass half full. But no, I do think the Bulls have wrapped up 4th place, but I don't think they're going to go higher than that. It's about who's going to be the away teams. And you talk about South African injury issues. Munster just cannot catch a break, and Connacht. Talk about underdog stories. Them and the Lions have done brilliantly, and if they both make it into the top 8, that'll be a great story for both of those teams.
It's maybe also a point to just chat about the Irish 10 at the moment, because Sam Prendergast is a little ballerina at the moment, while Munster are missing Jack Crowley, and it's pretty evident that Jack Crowley and maybe Ty Byrne as well missing this last week were 2 massive losses, and maybe why Connacht was so good and could get over them so easily. Yeah,
it's mad to think that there was even a debate about the Irish 10 jersey now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's and they had as we've spoken about on previous videos, they had the answer 2 years ago. Jack Crowley 10, Kieran Frawley, probably the guy backing him up, and you're right. He's such an important man, and without Ty Byrne and Jack Crowley, Munster are a completely different team. So they are there for the taking against the Lions. Can they get those guys fit? It'll be a great atmosphere, and it is. To think Munster could miss out with the pedigree that they've got, former winners. Yeah, that's big. But it just goes to show how good this competition is. That there's the jeopardy. Yeah, there's a few games that no one really, except for the fans of those teams, and some of the fans of those teams don't even care about the games down the bottom. They mean nothing. But there's a lot riding on a lot of these games. It's going to be really good fun.
I don't know if you watched the Sharks game at all.
No,
No. Have you heard of Siaya?
other than the Esterhazy and the sportsmanship, that's the only bit I saw.
Have you heard of Siaya? Who started at 10
the
for
young.
the Sharks?
He played at 10, didn't he? But young fullback.
And he absolutely lit it up for the Sharks. Now his kicking needs some work off the tee, but he's unlocked something for the Sharks that they haven't had for the past few years, and that's a devastating 10 who can break the line, who can create something that doesn't just rely on his inside centre who's an absolute cement truck going down the middle of the field. But Siaya looks like he's 18 years old, and he looks like a real prospect. And I'm going to say it now, I think he's an outside chance to debut for the Springboks at some point this year. Outside chance.
Wow. You see, when I was at Craven Week 2024, I chatted with and watched and was massively impressed by Luan Guillaume, who went to the Sharks, got a bad injury which kept him out, but he just broke into the Sharks team, scored a try in the URC, and then got injured. But so all of a sudden they've got these amazing talents, young talents that could be fly half that really test the line coming out of their ears, to the point that I think Guillaume's one of the guys that's gone to the Bulls, right, for next season.
Yep. Which is also frustrating.
Being tutored by Andre Pollard, that's not a bad place to be.
No, that's a perfect place for him to be. And you kind of seen this season's been a bit weird for South Africa, because you've kind of seen all these stars pop up from who were in school 1 or 2 years ago. I don't think we've had a season where a Marcus Muller's come through, a Siaya, a Cheswell Jooste, a Yaku Williams, a Luan Guillaume. Like there's so many prospects coming through the system at the moment. Your Hashim Peed, your Bato Klekane. There's so many youngsters coming through that it's almost scary to think that some of these guys aren't even going to be able to crack a Springbok team at some point, because there's just too many of them. And that's maybe
there's
where
so many that what's going to happen is there's going to be probably a couple of the guys you mentioned will end up living in Ireland for a few years and pulling on a green jersey, or playing for Scotland or France. It's it is nuts. It's crazy.
So before we wrap this up, what are you looking forward to most this weekend? Which game? For me, it's Munster Lions, because I think Lions are slight favourites here and could pull off a...
Yeah, but no, it's for me, that one. And then it's Ulster against Glasgow. Because I don't know how Ulster are going to play it. Do they put all their eggs in the Challenge Cup final basket and just kind of leave the URC in the lap of the gods? Or do they go after it with both games and go full strength? I don't know what's going to happen there, but Ulster at home, as the Stormers found out, are a tough team. Yeah. And that one's going to be, Friday night, double screening all over that. That game on the Friday night, whilst keeping an eye on Stormers, who I think will probably have enough to do Cardiff. But then Saturday night, all about that one. It's great.
Isn't it interesting that if Ulster do the Stormers a favour, Stormers could end top?
I think they will end top. I think Stormers will end top. Oh, no. Sorry, no, I don't. They could, yes. I think they'll definitely finish top 2. And so, again, and just to recap, because I'm looking forward to coming out and breaking some bread with you again. I'm going to be over there with you on the 20th of June. And I still think that could be a URC final in Cape Town.
Okay, let's just quick for 1 minute. Let's discuss this. If there's a Stormers final in Cape Town and an SAA game against Zimbabwe and a double header with the Springboks Barbarians, where are we going to be? Cape Town or Kabeja?
I think I would choose Cape Town out of those. Because it's a final. It's a bit of silverware, isn't it? That's massive. But because hey, look, Stormers have played at that stadium, the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium, earlier this season. Maybe they just move that game there as well. Make it a triple header.
Now we're talking. Do you have any numbers at Saru that we can just organise this really quickly?
Hold on. Tell you what, we'll leave it there. I'll just get on to Rassi now.
Yeah, cool.
Subscribe to the channel, and we will see you on the next one. Hey, big man, how you doing? Yeah, look, I've got a thought.